Hello, and welcome to another Jazz After Dark. I'm sorry, that's not very professional of me. How you doing tonight? What you got to drink tonight, huh? Who's hanging today? It ain't me. uh, Tonight is brought to you by a mini mason jar of water. I can't hang, guys. I realize I'm doing these videos every night. I can't drink that much. I'm a little guy. So tonight is going to be the water. Plus, I have a busy day tomorrow. So I thought, well, I'm going to still do the Jazz After Dark here, but I'm going to go easy. Let's talk about this. You're going to have some thoughts. A lot of you are going to disagree. But let me present something to you. Have you ever noticed that really wealthy people never tell you they're in index funds? Now, I have nothing wrong with index funds. I'm just going to share with you why that is. Often what you find is the really wealthy people, if they ever get around to saying it or you look it up, their spouses and their family usually are in index funds, but they themselves are not, right? Not all of them, but you get what I'm saying. The more money you have and the larger your account grows, the more options you need. Not stock options, but the more opportunity that you need. And one of those opportunities comes in the form of taxes. Because what's the advantage of having money in a regular brokerage account? And tonight, I'm just talking about a regular old brokerage account, right? If you have, if you're one of us regular peons out there, right, then, we'll take what we can get. But if you're really wealthy, then there are so many more opportunities that have a tax advantage for you than just investing in an index fund. Not that that's wrong for you, but you'll often find that they say, well, I'm going to go do this. I can get the same return, but I have a tax advantage. So my bottom line return, my net return on my investment is greater than if I just invest in an index fund. So let me be clear there that I'm never saying, and I'm not going to say tonight, that somehow investing in something else can beat an index fund. There are, of course, ways to do that. There are indices that beat other indices, like the S&P 500 is not the best performing index out there, but that's what everybody tells you to invest in. So you do it. You don't ask questions and you blindly follow. But let's talk about this. Now, the obvious one is the tax loss harvesting. So we're going to do an example, and we're going to use an actual client's account, and I don't believe there's anything there that should be sensitive. No, there's not. And we're going to go through this. I want to show you how we look at it. The first thing is tax loss harvesting. Think about this. It's easy to talk about this year because everything went down mostly. But in normal years, the market's just trudging along. You've seen the stats, how often the markets go up, what they do. I've shared that with you here on these classes. And it's you get to a point where if you own one share of an index fund and it goes up, you have no advantage. If you own 1,000 shares of an index fund and it goes up, congratulations, that's obviously good news, but you have no other advantage other than to say, well, it went up. At some point, I'm going to have to pay the taxes. Wealthy don't think like that, right? They want to use every tax law they can. Let's get into this here. So here's an example of what it looks like on my end. And every client's able to see this as well. We don't like restrict what you can see like some advisors do. You just see what it is. The more questions, the better. So let me go over this real quick. This, we call it the tax football because you'll notice it looks like a football. What we're doing here is on the x-axis, we're saying how much money of your account do we need to sell to generate the y-axis, some version of a gain or loss. Naturally, everything in a light green here would be a gain. So if I said sell $2,000 worth of an account to generate a $250 capital gain, in this case it's a short-term capital gain, I would click right here and it would tell me exactly what to do. So let's do example number one. The client says, I need about an $800 short-term capital loss. I look over here and I see so far this year we've only realized, meaning on the books, we have a loss of $6.78. So they can go to the IRS and say, please take $6.78 off my ordinary income so that I don't pay tax on that portion of my income. You're taking that off, essentially. Well, that's not going to cut it. They say, well, I need to get about $800. So I would come here and I would see what's the least amount that we have to sell off of their account to generate an $800 loss. Now, can you see how I can certainly come over here and I could sell $10,000 of this $13,000 account, I believe. Yes, because it stops at 13. So I could sell $10,000 and generate the same $800 loss. But why would I do that? That's selling so many positions. I can sell only $2,000, get the same result, then take that $2,000 and go do something else with it. If the client says, I need a $1,000 loss, I have the option of anywhere between like $3,500, and then all the way up to whatever. So I could say, well, let's make it an even 1,000 and we'll sell off 4,000. Now this could also be, let's say you have a brokerage account and you said, I need $4,000. Emergency, something happened, I need $4,000. I can come in here and say, I can get you the $4,000 with a $1,000 capital loss, or maybe just a touch more there if I were to come down. So you see how this works? Pretty cool, huh? And the max loss that I could take for a client, if they said, Dustin, realize as much loss as you possibly can. I don't care what it takes. I need to offset this tax bill. Well, the max short-term capital loss I can get for them is about $1,350. That will require selling somewhere around $6,300 worth of their position. Again, we don't have to let the money sit there. We can go do something else with it, of course, but to make this number change to a total of like $1,350, I've got to click here and see what it wants me to do. So if you had one share of an index fund, you own one thing. You can't sell it and stay in the game and still get the tax loss. You see what we're doing there? You may have noticed at the bottom, we have inside of this filter, there's a combination of 1,716 lots, not positions, but lots, meaning I can take one share of this, 3 shares of this, a half a share of this, 6 shares of this, and that's how we're getting the 1,700. Please don't think we have that many positions, right? And so that means I have choices. If I had 1,700 shares of, let's say, the DIA, well, this year I could sell some of that DIA. That's the Dow ETF. It's an index fund, but it's an ETF. So I could sell some of those shares, realize a loss. But I don't have any opportunity to do anything else because I only own one thing. Think of us here at Jazz as we want that performance, but we want to own everything. We want you to own everything. So that way you can pick and choose what you want to do. So let's do an example. I did put this together, so it should be here, and I'm ahead of schedule. Looking good. Okay, let's pretend, since the Dow is really easy to understand, there are right now 30 positions in the Dow. Not always, but right now there's 30. And you had the DIA index fund. You're down, what, 6%? Something like that? Not a bad year. It's the best performing index this year. Beats the S&P, certainly beats the NASDAQ and the Russell 2000 and everything else. So let's say you come to me and you say, Dustin, I see that we own the DIA. We do not, but I'm just pretending. And I would like to realize a loss here. How are you going to do it? I want $2,000 and I need to realize a loss for 2022. Well, here's the performance of all the stocks in the Dow. I hope you can see them all. You can, okay. Naturally, I'm not going to sell Chevron. It's killing it this year. It's pulling up the index, right? I'm not going to sell Merck. It's pulling up the index. If you look, UNH, it's up 8% for the year. Okay, that's okay. That's better than being down. But United Healthcare makes up 10% of the Dow. So now what can I do? I can say, well, I don't want to sell that. That's, first of all, it's going to generate a gain. So if we were to go back a slide, UNH is in here somewhere. I don't want to sell that. The person said they wanted a loss. Okay, where can I go get losses? All the way down here. What I can do is I can say, well, let's sell the positions. Disney, for example, it's down 38% this year. We definitely have a loss this year on Disney. It's in here somewhere, maybe even in here. It's down. No way around it. But Dustin, if I sell Disney and the Dow goes up, well, I don't want to miss out, right? What if Disney goes up and that's the reason the Dow goes up and I miss out on these gains? I'm going to be upset that I took this loss. Well, we don't have to worry about that because Disney makes up 1.84% of the Dow. Put that into perspective. UNH makes up 10.6. Disney makes 1.84. So we can take the taxable loss, take that money and put it into anything up here. And if you say, well, but then I have the Dow, I have the DIA, I won't miss the rally if it comes. Neither will we, because we're not selling a huge portion of the DIA. In fact, on my notes I got, so Goldman Sachs makes up 7%. So it makes up 7%, and Goldman Sachs has been a leader this year. Where did it go? I just missed it. There it is. So it's not down as much. It's one of the leading financial stocks anyways. And of course, that's a mover. I don't want to sell Goldman Sachs. It has a loss though. I could use that, but I don't want to do that. I want to do it with stocks that are not going to move the market. Okay? That's one way to look at that. So again, all these positions in here that help me generate that loss are going to be these positions down here that don't, most of them, not Coke. Coke's actually had a good year. So Coke is a very small, it's like 1.25% of the Dow. It's had a good year. I could sell that if we needed to offset some losses with gains and not worry about missing the Dow's performance. So the same thing is true with the S&P. It's just that there's that many more stocks. So there's 505 at the moment. So you could do the same thing there. I certainly wouldn't want to sell Amazon, even though Amazon is a down, it had a bad year. There's no way around it. It had a bad year, but I don't want to sell it because it makes up such a large portion of the S&P. If Amazon starts going up and it lifts the market, well, then I'd have been better off just holding an index fund. So we're getting the tax advantage, but we're not missing out on returns. And I don't know if I've said that clearly. I'm not sure if that came across right, but I'm trying to get this, something a little more complicated in my head out in a simple way. So hopefully you see that. Tax loss harvesting is an advantage for a brokerage account. It's why wealthy people don't use index funds aside from their trusts usually and for their spouses. Because if they pass away, their spouse doesn't have the same skill set. Of course, they just want them to be okay. They don't care if they have the tax advantage. Plus, they have people that'll take care of that. Family offices will make sure they're fine. But you have a brokerage account. You think, oh, tax loss harvesting. I saw it. I learned it. I know what it is. We've done lots of videos on that. But remember, 2023 is the year of tighter money supply. Go a step further. Don't give up returns in exchange for a taxable loss. This is the best year to do this, by the way, because there are so many stocks that are so insignificant in the S&P that if you're in any kind of broad S&P, Russell 2000, especially the NASDAQ, if you're in any broad type of investment that covers all of that, you don't have to sell the leaders or the big weighted stocks. You can take your capital loss and not miss out on if the rally goes higher. Now that's assuming you plan to sell and then hold on to the money for the moment and wait the 30 days so there's no wash sale rule. That's inefficient in itself. But if you had to, sell the guys that are not even a real player in the S&P. If you have a Dow position, you sell your Disney, much as I hate to say that, right? You sell Disney because it's not going to have an impact on the Dow if it finishes the next 30 days with some magnificent rally. It would have to be in the above 50%. It'd have to have a rally of over 50% in 30 days for it to have an impact on the Dow where you would have been better off just holding the Dow and not taking the capital loss in the first place. You see the difference there? So now tell me if this is true. You've been hesitant to take a capital loss because you worry the second I sell that position, it's going to go up. Well, if you have just a couple positions, I can't blame you. That is a legitimate fear for you doing that. But if you have lots of small positions, number one, it's less impactful, so you don't mind selling. But number two, one position can't make the difference in returns, but you still win. You still get the capital loss there. So it's almost like that's my 2023 New Year's resolution, is to take basic financial advice and just go one step deeper. We know there are many layers, right? We can get all the way down to what I said a second ago, family offices. What in the world's going on there? I spent many years doing that. So we can go 10 layers deep, but if I can get you to think one extra layer deep in a year where the money supply is going to be tighter, that's not an opinion, that's already happening, then we're one step ahead of the game. The normal, average, everyday peons, like I said a minute ago, me and you, we can get to that next stage a little bit faster without investing more money, without being sold something, certainly without being sold something, without changing your goals in any way, just having that one extra, wow, if I do that, that takes off $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 off of my income that I would pay tax on. And that's a return because I'm in the 22% bracket, 24% bracket, 10 or 12% bracket, whatever you're in. That's a return of that many percent because I was just that much more efficient. Think of that. A return is not always what an investment yields. A return can be your brain, your extra work, your time making an adjustment so that you save that extra money without actually coming up with new dollars. And nothing against Dave Ramsey, but like, oh, you have to save more. Oh, I'm so tired of hearing that, right? Why you want to tell somebody that they need to save more? I'm rambling now. You want to save more when clearly money's getting tighter and they can't save as much. They're working as hard as they can. We need other strategies. That's what I'm all about this year, this coming year. I have a couple of weeks still to change my mind, but no, that's what we're going to work on. Anyways, hope this got you thinking and a little more energy from me tonight because I've got a whole lot to do, so I'm trying to stay wired and ready to go. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you on the closing beat, right? And worst case, you're going to hit the subscribe button, right? If you do that for us, it means a lot because it makes us look bigger. Everybody just, hey, you got so many followers and stuff. I'm supposed to ask you that every time. I know, I don't do it, but if you would do that, that would help us. I appreciate it. Enjoy.